Like many of you, I am a nerd, or at least a nerd at heart. And I have been a nerd for most of my life, even before it was cool, because I was raised in the 80s. And let me tell you something, back in the 80s, it was not cool to be a nerd. If someone called you a nerd in the 80s, it was a big insult that hurt people's feelings and people didn't like. It's not like today where everybody's a nerd and everyone's a beta and being a nerd is cool and being a nerd is now the norm. But I'm a nerd, and my hobby is writing fantasy fiction. I played Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games for many, many years of my life. Really enjoyed it a lot. Love fantasy fiction, Lord of the Rings, love Star Trek, Star Wars, all that shit, right? And there is a particular episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And to be clear, Star Trek: The Next Generation is not my favorite Star Trek show, not even close. I like the original Star Trek more, and the best Star Trek show ever made, by far, better than any other Star Trek show ever made, is Deep Space Nine, which is one of my all-time favorite shows in my life, and I'm over the age of 50, so a lot of TV shows. So that is the ultimate Star Trek show, and it's one of the best science fiction shows ever made. But that being said, Star Trek: The Next Generation had lots of good episodes, a very well done show, very smart show, very well acted, it was good. It was high quality, the like of which you don't have today. If you watch an episode of one of these Star Trek shows today, you'll basically throw up. Matter of fact, a few weeks ago, there was an episode of the new Star Trek show, and I don't watch these episodes, I just hear about them on YouTube, and it was a musical. So anyway, collapse of the Western world. Anyway, there is a particular episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation called Conundrum. I believe it's in their 5th season. I believe that's right, which is one of the best seasons of Star Trek: Next Generation. And it's an episode that I tend to think about a lot, and I go back and rewatch it. I don't rewatch any other Star Trek: The Next Generation episodes except for this one. I really don't. I'll go back and watch Deep Space Nine episodes occasionally when I have time. I'll even go back and watch like Voyager episodes occasionally. But I won't watch Star Trek: Next Generation except for this particular one called Conundrum. And if you didn't see it, or you saw it and don't remember, here is the plot. The crew of the Enterprise wakes up. They just wake up and they've lost their memories. They don't know who they are, but they've retained all of their skills and all of their, I guess that's it, all of their skills. So Geordi, the engineer, knows engineering. The captain is a good diplomat because that's his skill set. Worf knows how to fight. They all have their skills, but they don't know who they are. They have no idea. They're on this ship and they're like, who are you? Where are we? And they have to kind of figure out, for most of the episode, they have to kind of figure out, the computer is also damaged. The computer's down, so they can't look up who they are. So they just have to figure out what the hell's going on. Who are we? Okay, looks like we're wearing uniforms. Okay, we're probably some kind of military. We're on a ship together. We must serve together. Okay. And they just have to figure this shit out. And it's interesting to watch what these characters do when they don't have their memories, but they still have their skills and their personalities. That's what I was missing before, their personalities. So imagine if one day you woke up and you lost your memory. You had no idea who you were or any context or anything, but you had your personality and you had your skills. How would your life be different? How would you be different? And it's a really interesting episode. Let me tell you a few things that happen in the episode. These are minor spoilers. You are more than welcome to go watch the episode if you want and come back. I'm not going to spoil. I guess I won't spoil. I won't spoil the big spoiler at the end, but I will have some minor spoilers and things that happen in the episode. First thing that happens is that Riker looks at Captain Picard, and he feels that he has 3 dots. He sees that Captain Picard has 4 dots. And he goes, well, I think you outrank me because you have more dots. And Captain Picard, who is a diplomat, goes, no, let's not worry about who's in charge right now. Let's just try to fix the problem. Guess who takes charge? Immediately takes charge of everybody. Worf. Worf takes charge. He sits in the captain's chair and immediately starts ordering people around because Worf is the big alpha male of that series. Now, Captain Picard is also a big alpha male. I wrote a big article years ago in my blogs analyzing every character in Star Trek Next Generation and talk about if they're an alpha or a beta or what kind of woman, dominant, independent. I talked about all the different characters. You're welcome to look that up if you'd like. But Worf is the big swinging dick of that group. So he immediately takes charge and he's bossing people around. At one point, he actually goes into the captain's, that little ready room, the captain's ready room, right off the bridge. He's sitting in there and he's running reports. And even Captain Picard is reporting to him. He's like, so, sir, I think what we should do is, and they're reporting to him as if he's the captain. Now, also, you could argue that he's bigger and stronger than the other people. And he also mentions that when Riker points to Picard and says, I think you're right because you have 4 dots, Worf says, well, wait a second, I have this giant sash. He had a big Klingon sash on his uniform, right? He goes, I have this giant decoration that none of you have. And he immediately assumes that he's in charge. And of course, because he's Worf, he wants to fight and shoot people and fire phasers and all that fun stuff. So that's one very interesting dynamic that occurs. Another interesting dynamic is that Riker is sort of the player guy in that show, right? Not too much, because unlike Deep Space Nine, Star Trek The Next Generation, those characters are all icons, all lawful good. So it's not like he was Captain Kirk going around banging tons of chicks. That's not the kind of show that was. That's what the original Star Trek was, but not The Next Generation. So, but there's you saw a little bit of that in Riker's character. Well, Riker now wakes up, he has no memories. And the character of Ensign Ro, who was a recurring character later in the series, she's a Bajoran, and she was this tough, dominant bitch. And Ro and Riker hate each other. Matter of fact, the episode begins before they lose their memories of Ro and Riker arguing because she's just really insubordinate and she's a bitch. And he's like, God damn, you just do what you're told. And they can't stand each other, okay? Now they wake up and they don't know who they are. So Ro is this dominant woman. What have I talked about in terms of dominant women? They tend to be a little more horny, a little more sexually aggressive. So guess what starts happening? She starts kind of flirting with Riker because she doesn't know who he is. And he starts flirting back, and they have sex. At the same time, Counselor Troy, who is a submissive, who's more of a little girly girl, she's all nervous, and she starts kind of nuzzling up to Riker, and they don't have sex, but things happen. And so he starts, playing with these 2 girls at the same time. Pretty awesome. Something he would never do if he had his memories and all that good stuff. So again, the thought is now at the end of the episode, this is not a spoiler, but at the end of the episode, when they get all their memories back, the problem with Star Trek Next Generation is very much like Voyager. At the end of every episode, they had to kind of press the reset button and fix everything. It was where they didn't like it. But so they all get their memories back at the end. And the final scene is Ensign Ro and Counselor Troy sitting at the bar talking about Riker, saying, oh, he tried to fuck both of us. Well, he fucked both of us. Oh, yeah, that was great. And, they make this girl power scene where they kind of embarrass him at the end, and it's kind of stupid. But this goes back to what would happen if you lost your memory, but retained your personality and your skills. How would you behave? Would that be a scary experience for you, or would it be a freeing experience for you? Because a lot of you guys, I have a feeling, would be suddenly much more confident to move in the direction of your goals and do the things you want, because deep down, you are alpha. Some of you guys are betas, you have this inner alpha inside you, but because of, my mom and this and my girlfriend and that and my culture and this and, right? I'm a good Christian, but I'm from India, all this bullshit societal programming in your head. This is what happened in the episode. All the societal programming went out the door, and these people were free to behave the way they really wanted to behave. Worf is a big tough guy who wants to control. Riker's a player, wants to bang chicks. They actually went and were free to do this. What would happen if that happened to you? Or would you be like Counselor Troy in that episode, where you're just totally nervous? You're just terrified of everything. Your inner beta comes out, and you really are a beta male, and you'd be terrified to make a move, and you'd be all nervous, and what would happen? I can tell you for a fact that if I lost my memory and I woke up the next morning and I had no idea where I was, but I retained my personality and my skill set, I'd be right back to work. I'd have to figure things out a little bit. Obviously, there'd be a learning curve, but I'd be right back to work. And I'd be right back to doing the things I want to do because I live congruent to the man who I actually am. Some of you are too, but a lot of you aren't. A lot of you guys are not living the way you really want to live because of your own internal burdens. My family, my mom, my this, my that, my culture, but I spent so many years in college, but I can't quit being a doctor because I spent all these years of med school. All this baggage you have, you're letting your baggage define who you are instead of having you define who you are. I don't let my baggage, what little I have, I do have some, we all have some, I don't let that baggage define me. I let me define me. I let my personality, my desires, my skills define who I am, and that manifests in my life in terms of how I live my life. You might be in that category too, awesome. But there's a possibility, there's a chance that you're not. That you would actually, if you had lost your memory, you'd be liberated. I'll wrap up with this. Years ago on the radio, and I used to listen to radio back when that was a popular thing a long time ago, they did this case study of a woman who, married woman, overweight housewife, who got hit on the head. It's just like a TV show. This is a true story. She got hit on the head, had amnesia, woke up, and she forgot everything. But she remembered all of her, all of her skills and, her basics, her personality, but she just forgot who she was and who her husband was and kids. And she completely transformed her life. She lost all this weight. She went and got a sales job, started making all this money. Her husband was freaking out, and she was super happy. She was miserable before, and she was happy after she lost her memory because she wasn't living congruent to who she actually was. So ask yourself that question. If you lost your memory, would it be a freeing experience or would it be a nerve-wracking experience? The feeling for a lot of you would be a freeing experience. And go watch that episode. Go on, Netflix or wherever you can watch Star Trek these days. I don't know. Lose track. Paramount Plus? I don't fucking know. Watch Conundrum. Really good episode. And it's very thought-provoking. And if it makes you think even a third of what it makes me think about, you'll kind of relate to what these characters do and what these characters don't do. Cool? Cool. Food for thought. See you soon. Bye. My video is not stopping.